as anybody will say, your network is your net worth. So
And that first time, was it easy to read the room? Were you able
no,
to...
not at all.
Not at all.
No, honestly,
I'd want to consider that. I have to make these connections.
you don't want to use YouTube rips and when people do, you really do.
Ready? A potato?
Yep.
French fries. That's my favorite. I learned that one. Welcome to Real Talk. I'm Nicholas, your host for this episode. Previously, we sat down with Isaiah Hine to talk about his productions and live events as a stagehand. Well, this time we're going into the world of live music, specifically with DJing. I am joined by none other than John Lewis, also known as John, and he's going to be telling us about some of the events he's been at and what he's done to become a DJ here in Cincinnati. John, it's great to see you, man.
Hey, likewise, Nick. Good to see you, man.
I'm really happy to see you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. It has been a while,
long time, dude.
Yeah.
I remember you bought this turntable, like an actual DJ turntable and a manual. And every time I saw you, you were like, dude, I'm learning how to use it. I'm learning how to make music. You showed me the software. And 5 years later, you've really done a lot with this. It's kind of impressive how you've built up from the ground up. You've done everything on your own. So I just want to talk about that and highlight that, because that really is incredible.
Yeah. So it's kind of been a journey with that for sure. I kind of bought that pre-COVID, hanging out in Clifton at the time, playing little house parties here and there. Not really sure what I was doing. I was there was times that I would play a party and I was it's just so bad that they would hide the board just to so I would be done with it and set in my room for hours and hours just messing around with it. I thought that was it was just something fun to do as a pastime at the point. Never would have thought I would play out anywhere or anything like that. So, that was pretty cool.
So let's start at the beginning. What inspired you to do all this? What got you into DJing?
To be 100% honest, my good friend Zach, I was visiting him in Columbus and he wanted to go to a show that night, and I've never been to an electronic music show before. And I was like, okay, sure, let's try something new. And I ended up going, and I looked at him at one point, and I was like, I want to do this someday. This is cool. And I kind of always been into music, I was kind of rapping back in the day, doing little stuff here and there, just messing around with the whole production side. Yeah, meatball, stuff like that.
Yeah, Johnny B, I remember that.
Yeah, so that was fun. But I was like, you know what, I kind of want to try and see what we can get with it. Because I've always been really big into music, so I thought it would be cool to try to mix it and create, I guess, instead of just being a listener.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's really neat. So you've always been a part of the scene. You've always really enjoyed doing it.
Absolutely.
What was your first step? When you said to yourself, I want to do this, was your first step, I need to get equipment, I need to get a book, I need to go to school for it? Where did you go from there? What was your next step?
Yeah, so I just kind of looked up at the time, being in college, I really don't have any money. So I was like, what's the cheapest board I can get? It's $200, a little Pioneer board that came with a record box software, and come to find out, record box is an industry standard software that is needed for all professional equipment and stuff like that. So kind of got lucky as of having that as a way to get into it, not knowing that was industry standard at that point. But I messed around with that for a while and tried to figure it out. It took a while. I mean, it definitely did. There's videos on my Snapchat memories, flashbacks, and I look at sometimes, and I was like, what am I doing? What was I doing? Compared to now, so.
It's not about what you buy at first. It's about knowing how to use it. So you learned how to use it. Did you learn how to use it through an instruction manual or YouTube videos? How'd you do that?
So to be completely honest with you, there's obviously, luckily, a lot of stuff out there on YouTube that you can look up. I was fortunate enough to just play around with it enough that I just kind of caught on eventually. I would go out to shows and watch other DJs and kind of saw what they did, and then I'm definitely I'm very set my ways. When I go up to the decks, I know where I want to set everything, and I'm very stuck with that. So there's everyone is. That's the craziest thing about DJing is everyone has a different way of how they do it. They mix differently. They do bring in songs. They play different songs. Everything is completely different than the person that's gonna play next. So with me, I just I was definitely I'm more of a hands-on guy, so I definitely kind of just learned from spending hours and hours of just hitting every button and trying to figure out what it does at the end of the day. So
That's perfect. That's what you should do.
Absolutely.
I also liked how you mentioned that you would go to some shows and it was just like, things wouldn't work out or you would be learning. That's what's going to happen. When you first start out, you're going to do things that are a little like weird because you're still feeling the waters.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going on. That's okay though, because that's how you learn. If you ask any professional, anybody who's working, they're like, yeah, I've had a gig where everything went wrong or like I didn't know what I was doing. You just learn from it. And then the next time you do it, you can't give up. You keep going, learn from your mistakes, and improve from there. So you talked about learning from other DJs and watching them. Is that something that you're going to want to do as a DJ is connect? I think that would be a really important
so to be honest, like if someone's trying to start out DJing, they definitely want to be going out to shows and supporting other DJs, man. That's the best thing to do is, as anybody will say, your network is your net worth. So as long as you're out there connecting, meeting people, I think I honestly don't care for when people are like, oh, why am I not playing? Why am I not doing this? But then they're never supporting anybody else. And I get it. Not everyone has all the free time in the world and all the money to be able to go out to these venues and clubs all the time. But if you want to do anything with it, I think you just need to go out and meet people. And that was like maybe one of the hardest things at first for me. I was very shy, and I still am to this day. But it was definitely hard going out there and putting myself out there and being like, hey, I really never mentioned that I DJ'd at all. I was just trying to make friends at the time. So I was more like just playing in the basement at, my parents' house for some time and then playing in the Clifton's basements and just stuff like that until eventually like someone was like, hey, you want to play this? And I was like, you know what? Put myself out there. And it was kind of a domino effect after that. There's someone at the show when I first played that was a promoter in Cincy, and they're like, hey, play this show, and met someone else, play this show, and it just kind of ever since then has been a steady ride.
That's amazing. I want to repeat what he said. Your network is your net worth. I have never heard that before. I love that. That is super cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something I've kind of picked up on over some time, just meeting people and like, just being a good, like, I think the biggest thing is just being humble.
No, I really like how what you said was when you went to the shows, you were trying to make friends. You weren't just trying to network. It shows that you really care about what you're doing. This isn't just a business to you. That's how you're going to succeed. You're going to succeed by actually getting deep into like the scene, the culture, the people. You have to understand it. Otherwise, they're going to sense that you're not in it to be a part of it. You're just in it for the cloud or the money or whatever it is. Yeah, because that's important. Because you go to a place and you don't make friends, you're not going to get very far.
Absolutely.
And not every gig goes well. Sometimes you run into a group of people you don't agree with and you're just like, that's whatever. But the fact that you were out there, the fact that you gave an effort and you tried to put something in it because you actually care, that's what's actually going to help you succeed when you're doing this. Let's talk about your very first gig. We'll skip over doing things in basements. The first time somebody was like, man, I want you on this show with me. It's going to be like a crowd of people at a public venue. How did that start? Kind of walk us through that day.
Yeah, so I honestly was in Clifton at the time. I went to a bar called Woody's right there in, college area. And the DJ there was playing some familiar EDM songs that I knew. And I was like, this is crazy. Like the college bar, they know these songs. And because that was kind of looked down upon, like when I was, at least the time that I was there. Nowadays, it's very open, but like anybody like who was listening to that at the time, that wasn't a popular genre of music per se. So I connected with him, and he was having shows at Top Cats at the time, and then I ended up playing there, and then I played at Mecca after that. And it was kind of like an ongoing process, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It was very nerve-wracking. I didn't know. So equipment-wise, like it's a lot of different stuff. So the controller I had, a little $200 controller, laptop, then you go to a show that it's got a $10,000 setup, all flash drive, all standalone equipment. And I ended up renting it from some guy I knew who owned the equipment at the time the week before, and I practiced all week on it just so I was familiar when I first played out. Mm-hmm. Even though I was the opening slot and there was maybe 5 people there, I still wanted to be comfortable in the equipment that I was playing on. So
Yeah. That's kind of a good point to start, though. A smaller crowd, it's less pressure.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's something you don't have to worry much about. So, all of your training, do you feel like everything you learned from that point, practicing in your basement, doing like the small gigs, did that all come into play and you felt like, wow, like I learned everything and this is what it's like?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that just, just getting that practice of playing in front of people was like more of, something that you were just out there and you're like, okay, I'm going to stand up here. I'm going to try to play music in front of people and create a vibe and get them moving. It's you're definitely trying to read the crowd. You'll play a song and you'll be like, okay, people aren't moving as much to that. And then you'll play something else and you'll see a reaction and you're like, okay, I'm going to follow that lead. So I'll play a song similar to that one or in the same key or whatever it is. For instance, I don't know, but I think that's a huge part of it is trying to understand what the room is. Read the room, I guess.
Yeah, read the room. And that first time, was it easy to read the room? Were you able
No,
to...
not at all.
Not at all.
No, honestly, I had it at the point where I mapped out my whole set, so you could set cue points, and I was like, okay, A is where I'm going to start this song, the second song. B is where I'm going to drop the second song into, and the first maybe 15 to 20 sets, that's what I did. I'd spend hours and hours on my laptop laying out the whole set, and then now I'm kind of at the point now where I'm just, okay, cool, I'm going to download 30 new songs, and sometimes I don't actually even hear the full song, only the clip that's on Beatport before I play out, so I'll only hear like the 30-second, minute clip of it, and then I'll play it out, and then I'll be like, okay, cool, this is a lot, it's almost like a surprise,
Whatever works.
You get more comfortable with it, I think. It's like driving a manual, you do it, or a bike, you do it enough times, it's like.
So, has there ever been a time, like, in your gigs where your equipment just fails you, and what did you do?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So equipment obviously is gonna mess up all the time, There's it's electronics. Everything's gonna have some fault at some point. But I think one of the times I used to always just bring one flash drive with me because everything we play on, it's just I show up to a gig, flash drive, headphones, that's it. And my flash drive was corrupted and I don't know what happened. Maybe it wasn't formatted correctly. Really, still to this day, I don't really know. So, and I didn't have a backup. So I knew another DJ in the crowd, and I'm like, hey, like, let me just use hers. And I had to improvise and just play off of her flash drive, not knowing any of her music, just kind of just winging it. So nowadays, I honestly have 5 flash drives in my bag at all times, and they're all, all the same SanDisk flash drives, but all formatted correctly. And like, that's one thing is definitely, stuff like that happens all the time. As far as like the decks kind of cutting out, I haven't really had any issues with that. But I'm sure it's probably gonna happen after talking about it. So, so I'll probably just stop talking about it. Yeah.
Only when you mention.
Yeah, but I have seen it happen before. I've been at live shows in Detroit that I have seen like the decks just completely shut off, and they had to get a whole team out there, new power cables, everything like that. It's always something very small.
Yeah, and that's gonna happen. Things are gonna, no matter how much you use equipment, no matter how expensive it is, everything can break down. Everything can fail you. And having that backup plan. So going back to, if your decks were to fail in the middle of a show, what would your next step be?
Call the Uber home. No, I'm just joking. Honestly, yeah. So that's actually a really good question. I'm kind of stumped on that. So if I was bringing my own decks and they were to fail during the show, I would probably troubleshoot everything. I'd be like, okay, maybe, it's plugged into the surge protector. Maybe it's too much power. Maybe it's too much speakers and stuff running to the same surge. Check that. The cables, that's a big thing. The power cable is usually something that fails pretty quickly. If that, I honestly don't have really a good backup if it wasn't the cables, though,
So,
I think I would be, out of luck at that point. I'd, probably have to take the loss on that one.
Okay, so for like layman's terms, because I only know certain audio terms based on working with it. Yeah. Your deck, that's like your most important piece, right? That's like is that like a crucial part of the show?
Yeah.
Okay, so if that's gonzo, it's gonzo.
Yeah. Okay. So that's where the music's coming from. Yeah.
Gotcha. So if that fails, you pretty much, it's like the camera failing, like you're screwed.
Right.
So
yeah, unless you have some Bluetooth speakers or something like that,
but,
which is not too common. But
yeah, but that would work if you have a secondary speaker. Because really, when you're working in this field, you see things that your audience doesn't see. You're looking at things from a different perspective. So even right now, if I scrub over this footage, I'm going to see something where I'm just like, that irks me. But to the average viewer, they're not going to really notice, because to them, like you said, it's about the movement of the room. It's about the feeling. Right. So even if it was just a Bluetooth speaker, as long as you keep that energy going, people are going to notice. Do you remember those videos like Quarantine, where they had the guys on their balconies DJing for their entire apartment complexes? Yeah, you just adapt and you got to roll with it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if it was Bluetooth, and your decks failed, as long as you kept some good music playing, people are still moving to it. So I definitely think it's about the energy of what you're doing. Like just having a good song selection. I spend hours and hours and hours just starting playlists on songs, just going and scrolling and just listening to it, like just to find the right songs, and I've been fortunate enough that the songs that I end up liking, other people do as well. So I mean, I think that is a huge part of it, is just finding good music. Anybody can go and find 20 EDM house songs and go and put them on a flash drive and throw it together real quick, but how are they mixing it, and how are they trying to kind of like create a movement with, I don't know how they, it's like almost like a feeling, like there's nothing, like there's not a better feeling than watching people move to what you're doing. I think that's the best feeling in the world.
You are a maestro. You really are. MC. I don't know. DJ used to mean disc jockey. So do you actually use discs anymore, or is it just part of
it? Yeah. So I don't, but there's my buddy actually gifted me 2 turntables. And I had another buddy give me some old vinyls. He used to spin all vinyl back in the day. So I was practicing on it for a while. I kind of gave up because of how hard it is. So I give a lot of credit to everybody who spins vinyl. You guys are awesome. You guys are the real DJs out there. I think for us nowadays, it's all digital. So it's all about finding music, putting it on a flash drive. And, it's still, I guess, there's a lot of different. You still got to be able to beat match. Play by ear, but it does make it a little easier because you do have that LED screen with WAV forms and MP3 files, like you're just watching it kind of, and you can see like the levels of like, okay, yeah, this is when the bass is good, this is when the kick's gonna start hitting, and then to cut the other low out and kind of mix it into there.
So you've survived your first show. You've survived your first ever gig. You came out with a couple battle scars, but now I know what to do. I know how to get in this rhythm. Walk me through like a production. So do you, let me try and phrase it. Do you call the manager of the venue firsthand? Hey, this is John Lewis. I'm coming in to do a show. I need to be here at this time. Talk to me the specifics about what you do to make a show happen.
Okay, so there's, I guess, 2 different sides of making the show happen. So for me being an independent artist, as well as being a part of a production company in Cincinnati, as an independent artist, I kind of get asked. I'm contracted at this point, so I kind of send them my fee, and if they don't agree with it, then I obviously don't end up playing. And I kind of had like my own handwritten kind of contract at this point, kind of equipment wise, like, hey, we need this up to date stuff. But as far as throwing a show, we've been fortunate enough that we've met a lot of good people. I have like one of my best friends to this day. He runs a lot of bars around Cincy, and he's kind of been able to help with just being able to get in the venues and throwing the shows there. So we kind of, it differs on each venue. So like we can throw a show at a nightclub and keep the door, like all the door comes to us, and then all the percentage of the bar. But our biggest focus is we always bring in our own sound. So we have a guy who has very nice sound equipment in Cincy. We rent from him every time, and we always want to have the best equipment. And just like I think we really want to put on a good show, have good sound, good lights. Just at the end of the day, good sound. Sound is the biggest thing I stride on. Like I personally don't care about the lights and the background. I mean, I know that's very important, but the sound is where it's at. At the end of the day, I want to be able to close my eyes and just hear it instead of see everything else.
Blackout raves are an exciting thing for a reason. That's the
Yeah,
thing.
so I always go for the highest equipment, even if the club or venue at the time has sound in house. We still strive to like get the best sound in there too. So,
Okay. So if I were part of your production company, I would be helping you wheel in your own personal sound. I would need to know how to set up lines versus microphones.
Yeah. I still personally, as long as I've been doing it, like I'm very fortunate that the two other guys that work with me, they know exactly how to set it all up. I am more of the heavy lifting. I can carry the speakers in. I can watch them and hand them the cables, but. As many times as I've done it, I still really don't remember how it goes. So
that'll happen. You can train and you can know how everything works, but a lot of it comes from getting hands-on experience.
Exactly.
I couldn't tell you, like, if you look right here at our little display, we actually use this for school board meetings and stuff.
Yeah.
All of these switches, they look fancy right now.
Some nice XLRs too.
Yeah,
good quality.
Just for funsies. Just for funsies.
Nice.
But like all these buttons and knobs and switches, you can change and switch these around, but you can know what they do and everything. It just depends on the situation. And learning hands-on is an important thing because you're going to be doing a lot of like repeat things. So we're going to be going to this bar. Oh, you're going to be at similar venues, so you're going to know that it's a similar setup. You don't have to change much. You just have to remember what the setup for each of those things is.
Yeah, everyone has different setups.
Yeah, and how to improvise. Have you ever asked them, like, hey, man, is it cool if can you show me, like, what you're doing? Like, are they receptive to that?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. I was kind of making a joke. I do. I only say that just in case they ever watch that. I don't want to take any credit for not being able to, like, do that. But I do know how to, like, tap it in, like, all the wires and stuff. But I'm just more of like I carry it in and help out with that. I'm more artist relations. I help find the venues. More of a connection person at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Everyone has a different role, and that would be my role with the company. Like just having the connections. You build these connections with the venues you play at. They start to know you. They know what they're doing. Because at the end of the day, for them, it's a business as well. It doesn't matter how cool you guys are and how nice you are. They got to make their bottom dollar, and it's totally respected. It's a business for them. If you throw a show there and it flops and they're not making anything at the bar, and how they can't stay functioning. It's like definitely a thing. You can come to our shows and have hundreds and hundreds of people there, and then that automatically is like an end. If you're throwing a show like that, and that they're gonna keep calling you to come back there because they're making their money. It's that's just how the business works, unfortunately.
So that's something. If I were an aspiring DJ, I'd want to consider. I'd want to consider that I have to make these connections. It's important to talk to these people, build these relations. But even then, if something doesn't go well, things can still go sour. Obviously not every business is just going to drop you like at the drop of a hat, but some of them might have a certain reputation, or they may be looking for a certain thing that you just may not offer. So something to consider when part of being a DJ is just making sure the show goes well. Yeah. And if the show doesn't go well, have a backup plan or just something to fall back on, and just understand that things happen.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree with that. That's a good way to put it. I think the best way, if you want to start out and become a DJ, my honest advice, like, you could look on YouTube, you can watch all the videos you want, but I would say just sitting there and messing with it and playing with it over and over and learning just everything, like, hands-on, just keep doing it over and over and over until you fully get a feel for where everything's at and how to do it. That's how, I think people want to do it. They just don't have the time to be able to sit there for 4 or 5 hours and people get frustrated. Oh, this doesn't sound good. Like, especially with producing and stuff. I've been dabbling in that for a couple years now. Still have all unreleased music. Nothing's out or not even free download anything. I've shared with friends. I'm very insecure about what I make right now because I'm a perfectionist when it comes to that, and I kind of want it to be quality before putting it out. But I'll spend hours and hours like, hey, this sounds terrible. I'm like, this is terrible, and I just keep going over and over and listening to it, and then like the next day it'll be like, oh, this is kind of cool, and then the next day it's terrible. you're kind of back and forth on it. And I think that, once you finally just sit there and you figure it out, you keep playing with it over and over, you eventually get there. You kind of know if you're really passionate about it, after spending that much time into it.
Yeah.
Like I feel like if I wasn't passionate, I wouldn't have continued to do it after all that time. I probably would have moved on and tried something else.
Because even if things go wrong, there's always tomorrow. There's always another chance to try again. And that's something would you say is important, is just keep trying?
Keep trying, yeah. You definitely don't give up on it, yeah. I mean, like from the feedback at the beginning of the conversation, one of the first parties I've ever played, I was in Clifton, right next to our Probasco house, and I went to the bathroom and I was playing all EDM music at the time, and I came back out and my decks were gone, and someone hit them because of how bad it was. And instead of me being like, okay, I'm hurt about this, I give up, I woke up the next day and I just sat in my room and kept messing with it over and over, and I finally figured it out. And it's funny because I always bring that up now because it is kind of funny to think that, like, the same people that were hating on what I was doing at the time, telling me it was bad, are the same people that are buying tickets for shows that I'm playing now. And, like, I don't want to look at that as, like, a flex or anything, because I'm not that kind of guy at all. None of that really matters to me at all. But I just think it's funny that, like, you're passionate when you just keep going and going. Because it's so easy to get, discouraged after something like that. Like, obviously I was hurt. I mean, I definitely remember I probably left immediately after that happened. I went home and was like, I hate everything, blah, 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 whatever. But the next day I was like, you know what, no. Like, got him back, played all day, and I was like, this is cool, I never wanted to, go hard on myself. And there's definitely times I'll play out and I'll completely train wreck some transitions. But as long as you're having fun up there, and, like, it can be terrible, and as you're having fun, and that's the energy that you're going to bring. And I've definitely had times where I just completely mess up and I get so down on myself. There's maybe 4 or 5 times at this point that I have left the venue after I played just because of how upset I was. And, like, now I'm at the point now, it's all my friends, no matter what. I kind of just want to be around them, because at the end of the day, as much as I love doing this, I enjoy the connection with the people I have met, and just having good people in my corner, and just being able to have, like, feel comfortable when I'm out. Like, I think that's the best thing. Is, like, at the end of the day, I'd choose the people over that. It's so nice having my friends now. I've met my closest friends in my life now because of music. So
we've talked about, like, the heart and soul of it, which is super important. But people do need to think about, like, where they're going to get equipment and stuff. So is there anything specific you would, like, the name of the board you said? What was the name of the board
that I first had? The first one I had?
Yes, the first one.
I think it's discontinued now, but it was a DJRB Pioneer board.
Yeah.
There's stuff similar. So as far as that goes, I will say it depends on what kind of DJ you want to be. If you're trying to DJ EDM music and your goal is to play electronic music festivals and venues like that, you definitely want to have something that is record box, and just because that's industry standard, like I said. No matter what you have, and I don't quote me, I could be completely wrong on this, but you have, at the end of the day, you have to export it into a record box file to make it work on that equipment. So there's so much, like, Pioneer stuff out now. If you're gonna be a bar DJ and stuff, like, I think Serato, like, having that kind of, like, laptop and stuff like that makes sense, because, like, you're gonna get requests. Like, we play shows that, like, people aren't asking us for music.
Serato, what was the other one?
Record box.
Record box. These are, like, are these?
These are softwares.
Softwares.
Yeah.
Are these consumer friendly for beginners? Is this something you would recommend to a beginner?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I honestly think that for a beginner that wants to get into DJing, before even buying the decks, should just download the free version of Record Box and get their music in there, and you can pull up the mixer on there and literally use your keypad to do it. I would say do that before spending the money, because you got to figure the software out before you plug in your board, So I really do believe that, like, you can you can honestly just have the software and still be a DJ, you know?
Really? So it's just like going,
I mean,
going
I don't
back to the
know.
equipment. It's just about how you
You definitely
use
want
it.
to touch it. Yeah, you definitely want to be at least be around some equipment before you play live. Yes.
Okay, so for beginners, if you don't know where to start, you don't know where to begin, download the what's it called, Record Box?
Record Box.
Download
Yes.
the record. Actually, you tell the audience. Tell the audience where can they get Record Box?
Yeah, it's on the Pioneer website under software. Yeah, you can download that. There's
Okay.
probably a free version. I know. There's definitely a free version.
Okay, so there is you can find software
And
online.
90% of like the decks that you buy Pioneer usually come with a trial or a license key. So
Okay.
not a trial, sorry, a license key.
Gotcha. So you have to, like a Premiere Pro, you have to pay
Absolutely,
monthly.
yeah.
So for aspiring young DJs that are like, I don't have a huge budget, you can go online. There are links and places online. Rekordbox is a company that can give you some trial software where you can just play with it on your computer, and it's basically like a virtual turntable, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so they really don't have to buy anything to start off with. They can learn how to use it.
Absolutely.
And then once they get an actual board, it'll be just like the real thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool.
So you'll be you'll be able to map it out better. You'll understand what you're doing at that point. Like definitely it'll definitely be, you'll be more comfortable with learning the software.
So I want to be a DJ. The first thing I'm going to want to do is I got to have a love for the music. I got to have a love for the scene, right?
Yeah.
I'm a stick in the mud personally. I'm a big sourpuss, so I may not be cut out for this the way other people might, but if I was someone like you that had this personality, I'm off to a good start. The next thing I'm going to want to do is go to some shows, see how other DJs do it, learn from their mannerisms, their movements. Am I off to a good start here?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I'd say go to like whatever genre you're into. I'd say go to more like festivals and shows and kind of like, that's very inspirational. Is like just watching like an artist who is like really big, like, touring the world and like watching like how they play, I think that's the coolest thing too. Is like, oh wow, like they, it's like they kept the vibe and like how they kept the music kind of just flowing. It's like how they build their sets.
So if I'm a poor college kid and I'm like, all right, I've gone to some shows, I know how the style is. Now I just need a Mac computer. I can go download that free software and just start messing with it.
Necessarily, like you don't even need that. I grew up with all
like
this.
standard.
I grew up with kind of an Apple kind of family, so like we've always had the iPhones, iPods, blah blah blah. So
gotcha.
If you're I don't know, anybody with Windows, they can do the same thing. I mean, a lot of my friends, they built their own computers, and that works just as well too. I can't do that. I wouldn't even know what to do at that point. So
That's wonderful though, because I don't know how to build a computer.
Yeah, I mean that's crazy. Yeah, I don't know how people do that.
If I wanted to be a DJ, I just need some traditional hardware, just like a computer, an iPad even. I need that software, that free
Honestly,
software.
like I'm not even gonna lie to you. There's an app on your phone that like DJ Pro maybe, and you can I could connect to an aux cord right now and just kind of DJ right now. It's.
All right, so let's go back to building our DJ here. I've got the style, I've got the enthusiasm, I've learned from other DJs, I've built connections, I've learned the software, and I have some equipment. Now what I want to do is talk to a DJ and say, hey man, can I do a show with you? Like where or you go to Clifton, so you go to house parties and you go, hey guys, I've got this turntable here. I see you're throwing a party. Is it cool if I throw down some beats for you? Something like that?
So very biased. I'm gonna answer this very biased. This is a question that has been brought up before. I been fortunate enough that I have never asked to play a gig. I've always kind of just been asked. There is a lot of people who ask to play gigs, and there's nothing wrong with that. That is obviously a good way to put yourself out there. Hey, I'm a DJ. I do this. I was fortunate enough. The first gig I played, like I said, there was a promoter there, a big Cincy promoter, and had me at another show. And there was another promoter there, and it just kind of a domino effect to the point that, it's kind of like I've just been asked since then. Because, like I said, I'm very shy, so like I don't put myself out there as much to be like, hey, I got lucky because I wouldn't be able to just be like, hey, put me on the show. Like I wouldn't know what to say. I would feel very awkward doing that, and then I would. I played probably 15, 20 shows that when I first started that, no pay opening slots. And if I was gonna ask to play a show, I would expect to not get paid for it because I like asked to play. So I think that, being asked to play, it's more leverage nowadays to, be like, hey, this is what I want for this. And I totally agree that you're passionate about it. Don't charge and whatever. And it's been an ongoing conversation about it. But the way I look at it is like going to work. Okay, so say you go to work Monday through Friday. What, like, you're just, and they're just like, hey, I'm just not gonna pay you. You just did this, like, it's I still look at it as like it is still kind of a job. I don't know. I as much fun as I have doing it and how much I love it, you still like you still want to get compensated for what you do. And because it's my main thing is I buy all my songs. So nowadays with inflation, it's $1.79 a song. Maybe a little bit more, $2.79, whatever, depending on how new of a release it is. You don't want to use YouTube rips and like when people do, you really do. I hear it all the time, and then you just know right away because you're like, what's going on? Like, why is this song so much louder than the one they played right before it? And also, I'm totally against ripping because the artist is not getting paid for like their art.
That's
even
really
though they're
important.
getting a small percentage of what they're selling it for, they still deserve that, you know? Unless the artists are sending it to you directly, which I have used that card. I do go on Instagram, and I I shoot my shot with bigger artists that have 14 million followers and thinking, okay, no chance they're ever to respond to this message, but hey, let me get this song. Like, this is cool. And then it's happened like maybe 3 times now that they will send me the song, but most of the time they probably never see the message, which is fine. At least I put myself out there trying to get the music.
Keep at it. That's important. You have to do certain things. You have to just keep working, keep working. One day you're going to get a shot, and it's because you put yourself out there. If you say, I'm not doing this anymore, I give up, you're never going to get that second chance.
Right.
You have to be willing to do it, even if you fail. Get out there, do it again, because anybody can improve, anybody can learn, anybody can change.
Yeah, I've definitely, there's been times that I've been told, like, hey, like, don't play as much. People, you're going to get annoyed at that. Like, people are not going to keep coming to hear you play because you play too often. And I've actually been told that maybe 5 times now. And I kind of just went with my own thing, kept doing it. And it seems to be fun so far. Like, I don't believe that that's true. I think that if you're having fun and it's something you love, like, I don't think if it wasn't for me going out and DJing or just meeting all my friends that I have now, I'd probably be sitting home every weekend. And that's one of the biggest things. Like, I wanted to bring it back to just the people you're around. I mean, at the end of the day, that's all you got. It's your supporters. That's what you really need. It's like, I'll be discouraged sometimes. I'll be like, I'm not happy with what I'm doing, this and that, and then someone will swipe up on my story and be like, oh, this is awesome. Like, it's like, for example, you reaching out, that was cool. I was like, this is awesome. Like, getting asked, like, I'm recognized to come do this and that. And I'm like, it's a good feeling. Like, so I appreciate you, man.
Of course,
Thank
dude.
you. I appreciate it, dude.
Ready? A potato?
Yep.
French fries. That's my favorite. I learned that one. When you first started out as a DJ, hindsight is 20/20, correct?
Yeah.
So we always learn from learning from it. What is something you wish you would have known starting out as a DJ that you did not know?
Act like go up there and have fun. Be yourself.
Be yourself, have fun. What is your social media? If people want to see your work and they want to get in contact with you, who should they reach out to?
Yeah, so John Lewis is my Instagram. Just John Lewis. And Departure Lounge is the production company that I'm a part of, and that's where all the shows. So our main goal is we bring in headliners. End of the day, that's what our main focus is trying to bring in bigger artists and bigger names to Cincy to try to help build the local scene and grow it from there. So
yeah, man, I appreciate
cool,
that.
Yeah.
Is there anything you wanted to say to our audience, or is there anything you wanted to say to me before we end?
I really appreciate you for the opportunity. This has been real. I'm happy to be here, and I hope I can see you guys at one of the shows, and we can have a good time.
So, thanks for tuning in. This has been Real Talk. I'm Nick. I've been here with our guest, John. Tune in for our next episode. If you ever are interested in being a part of this, if you're in the AVP field and you feel like you want to share something with us, reach out to us at nicholas@waycross.org, or you can just comment on the videos, things like that. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We love you. Have a good night.
Appreciate it.